Welcome back to Talk Property to Me. My name is Brad East.
I'm Aaron Downey, and today we've got 2025 market predictions.
As promised on our last episode of 2024. So we're going to get straight into it, but before we do, if you haven't done already, hit the subscribe button, like it, send it to all your friends. Also, if there's anything you want us to talk about this year, 2025, throw it in the comments. We actually read them, so
Yeah, for
jump in
sure.
there.
Before we get started, we're going to touch on the main things for the market in 2025, but we're also going to talk about a particular suburb at the end, so stick around to the end.
Yeah. So if you want to know some exact suburbs, stick around to the end, and we'll let you know what areas and what suburbs we're thinking are going to do really well in 2025.
So the key theme for 2025, it's going to be much the same as 2024. It's all around affordability.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into affordability and locations, affordability is relative to the people who are buying them. It's not buying cheap crap houses in crap suburbs. It's just the general basis of affordability is the key feature.
Yeah.
And mainly because of the economy and interest rates still where they are. But the market will still perform like it did in 2024 because of the supply and demand dynamics. But the key theme overall is affordability.
Yeah, I think affordability is going to increase as rates come down.
Yeah.
So home loans will become a little bit more affordable. People will start to want to upgrade again.
100%.
So at the moment, everyone's going either sideways or down with their purchasing. Well, not everyone, most people, because they don't want to have an extra expense.
Yeah. The two biggest demographics in our market buying are downsizers and families. Downsizers, a lot of them, we talk about it all the time. They're paying cash for properties or they've got massive equity components when they're downsizing. But same for families. There's a lot of people who bought in their 20s or 30s. They get to their 40s and 50s, and even if they're upgrading, they're selling their house with a pretty substantial piece of equity there. So we need to focus on affordability, but we need to also consider who are the people buying these types of properties, because then you can analyse the market a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think that affordability is going to come from government policy. So RBA is going to change interest rates this year, 2025. My prediction for that, I know you don't like talking about interest rates, but the prediction for that, it's almost next to zero possibility of a rate reduction before May.
Yeah.
There's an election in May.
Yeah.
There's too much politics around doing it before then. It'll be literally the first RBA meeting after the election.
Yeah.
They'll reduce rates.
And the thing is, even if they do reduce rates mid-year or whenever it is, or even early, if people just plan their properties around that 6% interest rate, everything else is just cream.
Yeah, for sure. So that, and saying that as well, when the rates drop for the first time, it's not instant. It's not an instant win. These are things that are going to accumulate. So, the rate reduction in May, you'll probably feel the benefits of that in like August.
Yeah.
So
it's like when they say people go bankrupt, it happens all of a sudden. It happens slowly, and then all of a sudden.
Correct. It's there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we'll get into the first one, is Sydney in the higher priced markets. So what are your thoughts on suburbs?
Just around that affordability, we're talking about affordability, but we need to just focus on the principles. Location, owner appeal and scarcity, all of the same metrics for properties can be tracked across the board. So all of those features still apply. But when we're talking about affordability, so if we're talking about Sydney, we'll say the Northern Beaches as an example. We've got price points on the Northern Beaches from, some properties, I think one traded there for 35 mil recently, all the way down to, units to 700,000. If you're talking about family properties and that location piece and owner-occupied appeal and scarcity, think about Manly. You've got, the median house price of close to $5 million. Surrounding Manly, you've got Allambie Heights and Balgowlah Heights. You can buy a 4 or 5 bedroom family home in those suburbs for 2.5 to 3 mil. So that's what we talk about with affordability. People still want to be in those locations. They need to be in the city for work, or they need to commute, or families are there. They want to still live there because their family's grown up there. but they might be slightly priced out of those more expensive suburbs, so they slowly migrate out to those cheaper, more affordable suburbs, and that's where we're going to see that extra growth in those more affordable markets.
Yeah, for sure. As it starts to creep out, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's the same. Like we talk about, there's two sides of it. You've got, again, Sydney becoming unaffordable, and people think, should I stay here or should I move somewhere else? And a lot of people move to Newcastle, like we've spoken about before.
Which is the next topic.
Yeah, so Newcastle's a more affordable alternative to Sydney. So we get that overflow effect of people just naturally migrating to Newcastle. But the same principles apply with people in Newcastle who can't afford the more...
You got your Bar Beach, which average sales, what's there, 3.5 mil?
Yeah,
sort of.
Exactly.
Then Merriweather goes down to about 3 mil.
Yeah.
But then you look at places like Fletcher, Maryland, what's that? That'd be about 1.1.
Yeah, and Rankin Park, which is smack bang in the middle of Newcastle,
You know, and
family house for $850.
And realistically, they're like a 20-minute drive.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a huge commute. Yeah. So there is, affordability pockets like that as well, even within Newcastle.
Just slowly start to see that overflow effect from the more expensive suburbs to the more affordable suburbs, because people have their work commitments and family commitments and they still need to be in those locations. But because of the environment that we're in with interest rates and the economy, people tend to go for those more affordable suburbs.
So if you were to pick, an investment market, where would you be investing in 2025?
So a big one, Victoria for me is a big one. It's done very little growth over the past 5 years. Yep. Some markets have performed well, and we spoke about in our last episode, but across the board, Melbourne generally hasn't done a lot for the last 5 years. Moving forward over the next decade, there's going to be some big changes in Melbourne, and one of the biggest is population growth. And Melton in Melbourne, that's one particular market where, yes, it's got 4,000 to 5,000 building approvals for that location because it's a new suburb being developed, but the population is going to go from 80,000 to 400,000 people over the next 2 decades.
Yeah, so there's building approvals for a reason.
Exactly.
Not just...
And it still can't sustain the population growth.
Yeah, Australia won't be able to in general.
No.
So Melton in Melbourne.
And then I think a big one for just investors in the market at the moment, Golden Square, and this is aside from affordability, but it's still a very affordable suburb, it's severely undersupplied.
So Golden Square's Bendigo,
Victoria.
Yeah. What's the median price there at the moment?
You can buy a 3-4 bedroom family home for 400, 500,000, depending on the condition.
So that's good entry level investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So Golden Square. In Bendigo.
We'll do a 2025 market review in June.
Hold his words for that. and also mine for the interest rate. If it happens before May, send me a message and tell me I'm a dickhead. But look, so I guess in a bit of a wrap up of that, people are still going to struggle with the affordability in 2025. Yeah. People are going to go for those suburbs that are a little bit less expensive on a whole. So, if you are looking to invest, look at places that you see are going to have good growth this year, such as Melton or Golden Square. And if you're in the Newcastle areas, Rankin Park, Fletcher, all those sort of outskirt areas.
I think from an investment standpoint, like the reason why a lot of people in Sydney don't buy in Sydney is because you're getting 2 to 3% yields.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeing that whole theme of affordability across the board, because people need to buy in these markets that are affordable, because typically the more affordable markets are 5 to 6% yields.
Yeah.
And with interest rates that they are.
That near covers the repayments.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, isn't it? Like in general, people want to invest, but they can't afford to pay $300-400 a week in extra repayments that the rent doesn't cover.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that. So go for the places that, as we've already said, strong rental yields and have good long-term potential.
Yeah.
Got to find the good mix.
Yeah. So, when you're buying in a market, even if it's an owner-occupied property in Sydney, like think about that market where people are buying in that general proximity. What if it's Western Sydney, the North Shore, the Lower North Shore, Northern Beaches, wherever it is, think about those more affordable locations catering to the audiences in that suburb, because that's what's going to drive demand.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that's pretty much it for today. If you haven't done it at the start of this episode, hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
See you on the next episode.
Thank you.